I never really believed in the supernatural. Of course, my community, which was predominantly Christian, really didn't allow obtuse ideas such as the lingering of long dead spirits who would like to pass a message on to someone that they miss, or possibly the idea of malevolent beings that would swallow you up and consume your soul if you tried to consort with them. They saw those ideas as obtuse, and up until the past few weeks I have too, but that all changed. My day started as normal as most days do for me. I got up, had my coffee, got dressed, and got ready for school. But that's essentially where the normality ended. Everything felt empty. When I walked outside, all of the people who normally ride the bus with me to school weren't standing outside waiting. I kind of pushed that idea off as maybe they were all sick today or they had better things to do, as I often did. But that wasn't where the strangeness ended. When I got on the bus, the driver wouldn't even look at me or give his normal generic greeting of good morning. He just sat facing forward, allowed me to get to my seat, and then moved on to the next stop. However, there wasn't a next stop. As the route was normally filled with 20 to 30 people, there were only 2 people on the bus today, being myself and the driver, which was extremely abnormal. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was going on, but who was I to say something paranormal was happening? I had been raised to disbelieve anything like that. When I got to school, it was a little different. There was still no one in the halls, and everything seemed extremely empty and abandoned. Still, only myself and a few others remained. My teachers were there, but none of the students were. I just basically sat around and did nothing all day in class. It was about after lunch that I started to get a strange tingling feeling, like that of apprehension when you don't know what's going to happen next. I started feeling that something terrible had happened to all these people, that it couldn't have been a coincidence that no one was there at the school, and that no one rode the bus this morning when there are normally 30 or more people. Still, I tried to shake off the apprehension, tried to ignore it, thinking maybe there was some logical explanation, though I could think of none. Instead of going to my next period class, I avoided the school altogether. I dashed out and tried to make my way home, where I figured I would be safe. But I was sadly mistaken. When I arrived home, I found the doors were unlocked, but no one was home. My parents' car was in the driveway, and my dad's motorcycle was still sitting where it had been this morning, but there was no one home. I ran around my house, up and down stairs, in my basement, in my attic, thinking maybe they were there somewhere, but they weren't. My house was entirely empty. I couldn't even find my pets, my dog or my cat. Thinking that I could solve all of my problems, I went to my room and went to sleep, hoping that when I woke up in the morning everything would be back to normal, and everyone that I cared about, and those who I didn't care about, would have returned to their rightful place, and all would be right in the world. That night, I dreamed that some being, be it human or otherwise, went through my little town, killing everyone. It was gut-wrenching because I saw every murder and how brutal every meticulous killing was. It was disturbing to me, and I woke up in a cold sweat. When I looked down at my bed, my sheets, I saw that they were all covered in blood. Thinking that something had gone wrong in the night and I had been bleeding from somewhere, I got up and checked myself out, but it was exactly the opposite. I didn't have a single scratch on me. However, I was covered in blood from head to toe. I decided that I would take a shower, get the blood off of me, and forget about that for now. Unfortunately, no one was back. There was still no one. Everything was abandoned. Even the stores were empty. The malls where the teenagers normally hung out on the weekends were entirely uninhabited. As I was walking home from my investigation to find out if people were back, I noticed something in the ditch that caught my attention. However curious I was, I wished I hadn't gone to check it out. When I approached the foreign object laying in the ditch, I quickly realized that it was a severed human hand taken above the wrist. It was covered in blood, and it looked like it had been chewed on by some sort of animal. What type of animal would chew on a human hand? I had no idea. Startled and in obvious shock, I made a call to 911, hoping that someone would pick up, but even in my head knowing that there would be no one there to help me. There was no one anywhere that could help me. Trying to yet again get the day's events out of my mind, I went home and went back to bed. I had the exact same dream I had the night before. This creature, whatever it was, going through house to house, killing everyone it could get its hands on. I seemed startled at why it didn't come after me these past few days. When I awoke the next morning, I felt more exhausted than I had when I went to bed the night before. And oddly enough, I felt something in my mouth. I quickly fished it out, wondering what it could have been. And to my surprise, there in front of me was a human ear. In a fit of disgust and fear, I forced myself upward and turned around, and there before me were thousands of bodies hanging from the ceiling on meat hooks, and in front of me were all of my loved ones. And I noticed that my father was missing an ear.